V dnešním díle magazínu Svět okem Raptora se podíváme na dialog o hospodářských vztazích mezi Itálií a Čínou a o dopadu globálních iniciativ. Jak se lidská práva ve Spojených státech stala výsadou menšiny? Proč je důvěra v hospodářský růst Číny vysoká navzdory chmurné situaci ve světové ekonomice? Místopředseda Čínské obchodní komory při EU vyzval světové vlády, aby zůstaly tržně orientované, a jak bývalý polský vicepremiér řekl, že nadbytečná kapacita není problémem Číny, ale nedostatečné konkurenceschopnosti ostatních. Bývalý italský ministr hospodářství a financí Giovanni Tria poskytl exkluzivní pohled na ekonomickou transformaci Číny a strategické partnerství mezi Itálií a Čínou.
What is your overall impression of China's economy, in particular in the context of the ongoing structural reform and transition?
China is trying to convey the savings, the high level of savings of Chinese people to investment in green sectors, for example, in new digital sectors, high technology, and also in revitalizing the rural sectors. I mean, we need a kind of rebalancing, but China has many resources, financial resources, just because, as I said, the rate of savings in China is very high. Also, there are in China high quality of the labor supply. Is on the frontier in many sectors in technologies, also in knowledge sector, in science, education. Then there is these are the basis for increasing productivity. I mean, not just a growth based on quantitative increase of the production, but also the quality of the production.
What is your view on the current relationship between China and Italy, and what opportunities do you see for enhancing this bilateral economic and trade ties?
I think that there is in the interest of Italy to increase the economic ties with China. We had to increase economic relationship. In the words of the economist, the comparative advantages of Italy are not similar to the comparative advantages in China. Then we can develop trade for the benefit of both countries. Now I think that China has to continue in this policy of opening up, and this means that the trade also and investment and the exchange of also in technologies between China and Italy can be.
You talked about Italy welcome Chinese investment. In your opinion, how to further enhance this relationship to make it mutually beneficial?
We need to regulate the flows of investment. I mean, in Europe, we reached a consensus some years ago on a comprehensive agreement on investment. Then this agreement was stopped for geopolitical reasons. We have to rebuild trust and go on. The ways we need shared rules, and this is possible through the dialogue. But we cannot stop import flows of goods, technologies, and also scientific progress between the countries. This means otherwise we'll have lower rate of growth and more inflation. This is the result always when the countries decide to go in the direction of protectionist policies.
Rozhovor s Benjaminem Nortonem, šéfredaktorem nezávislého zpravodajského serveru Geopolitical Economy Report, který se věnuje investigativní žurnalistice a originálním analýzám pro pochopení měnícího se světa.
If you're wealthy, you can live very well in the US. But for average working people, their wages have been stagnant since the 1970s. My generation is being told there will be no retirement funding, no pensions. Healthcare is extremely expensive. Education is prohibitively expensive. So you have all of these problems. Meanwhile, you have more racism, violence, instability. So people can see that their lives are getting worse. And yet they have two choices in the political system. You have Republicans, and what is their response? They scapegoat immigrants. They blame China for everything. They're now, we have this drug issue. They blame China, which has nothing to do with it. In fact, the drug issue in the US was caused by big pharmaceutical corporations, including Purdue Pharma, which faced dozens of lawsuits for basically giving money to doctors to encourage them to overprescribe medicine like Oxycontin, which got people addicted. The Democrats are incapable of providing alternatives because they ostensibly say they want to provide better policies for working people, but they're also beholden to the big money interests. So they have this contradictory policy where they say they want to give us more education and healthcare, but they don't do it.
Mezinárodní měnový fond zvyšuje prognózu hospodářského růstu Číny v roce 2024 na 5%. Moderátorka Tien Wei hovoří s Gitou Gopinátovou, první náměstkyní výkonného ředitele Mezinárodního měnového fondu, aby zjistil, proč je důvěra v hospodářský růst Číny vysoká navzdory chmurné situaci ve světové ekonomice. Poslechněme si odpovědi Gity Gopinátové.
There are two main reasons why we have upgraded growth. Firstly, the first quarter's GDP growth came in stronger than we expected for this year, for 2024, and that has played an important role. And secondly, there are these new policy measures that have been put in place that also helps with raising growth. So if you look at the facts, what we see is the main drivers of growth in China are going to come from the private demand, from domestic demand, right? Not from the external sector. So if you look at the contribution, for example, of net exports, which is exports minus imports, to GDP growth in China over the medium term, that's basically close to zero. So we are seeing a recovery in consumption, and that's one of the reasons we've upgraded our forecast for China. It's not complete. It still needs to continue to recover.
Chen Chongqi, místopředseda Čínské obchodní komory při EU, vyzval světové vlády, aby zůstaly tržně orientované a založené na pravidlech. Uvedl, že je nutné udržovat dobré podnikatelské prostředí založené na tržních pravidlech a každý, kdo nebude hrát podle pravidel, riskuje, že si uškodí.
对于我们企业来说，尤其是出国以后，我们是一个国际企业，那我们应该在这个国际的规则下，因为我们觉得这个世界呀，它什么可能讲不通，一定按规则来讲，一般都能讲通。现在呢，有很多人他不按规则来办事儿，所以说造成了很多的困境。我觉得对我们企业来说，那就还是要在市场的规则下，在商言商，营造一个好的个商业氛围。这我觉得这是一个各国政府层面要考虑的。其实如果不按这个规则来办事情呢，中国有句话叫“伤敌1000，自毁800”。
Bývalý polský vicepremiér Grzegorz Kolotko se domnívá, že z pohledu ekonoma není problémem nadbytečná kapacita Číny, ale nedostatečná konkurenceschopnost ostatních zemí, které využívají vojenský a politický tlak, aby zabránili zemím spolupracovat s Čínou.
Now we hear another new word, new context of a capacity. Especially the Americans, most recently, Mrs. Yellen, American Secretary of Treasury, Antony Blinken, American Secretary of State, that is the Foreign Affairs Minister, were teaching and preaching Chinese leaders and world opinion that there is overcapacity. Well, it depends from what viewpoint. China is an open economy and there is the world. And if China wants to sustain the rate of growth, China has to sell a lot of products of China's minds and hands all over the world. And if China is competitive, this is the problem of the other countries which would like to sell the similar products over there. So there is not the problem from my perspective as an economist of overcapacity of China, but there is the problem of lack of competitiveness of the other countries. So they are using the narrative of a capacity, decoupling, the risking. They are using political pressure to keep somebody out of cooperation with China.
Bývalý polský vicepremiér Grzegorz Kolotko řekl, že svět je na špatné cestě. Už teď používám termín druhá studená válka.
We have two types to approaches to globalization. One is extractive, just to take globalization as another instrument of getting advantage on other countries, other businesses, other regions of the world. And then we have what you call in China win-win, that is inclusive globalization. So from this perspective, the world is on the wrong track. I'm using the term Second Cold War already since certain period of time, and the side of the trade war, which was not started by China, but basically by the United States, which is not able to stand the growing competition of China industries, especially high-tech industries, which we see recently. After decoupling, we heard about the risking, and now we are getting the new message that there is overcapacity. But overcapacity from American or European or Japanese perspective means actually lack of competitiveness. The American economy is not able to compete with China's technology, China's management, China's manufacturing, other sectors of the economy, and therefore they are using the means of protectionism, which is against the mainstream of irreversible globalization.
Děkujeme, že jste sledovali náš pořad. Nashledanou u dalšího dílu pořadu Svět okem.